been in touch with the organisers since we started out, actually.
Yeah, in 2011, I think.
With a hope that we would get to play here at some point, and it's very nice that eventually we did get to play here, and with new material as well.
Yeah, because you just released the album Identities, like
That's right,
just a couple of days ago or so.
We released it on the 19th of June, which is probably two weeks ago or so.
Yeah.
So this is actually the first gig that we've performed any of the new material from that album.
By the way, for me personally, like I haven't heard of your band before we got in contact over like a friend that we have in common from the UK.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, first of all, very flattering that we get a question like also like, well, we would like to be on the show.
Absolutely.
And then it was like, okay, what if the music sucks? how are we gonna do an interview if the album is horrible, the band is horrible?
I imagine that would have probably.
The comment you have it in the back of your mind.
Precipitated a conversation before the interview.
But then you sent us the copy of the album, and I popped it in, and some might say when you listen to it, you think you know what you do with your instruments, that you know how to use them, and that the producer maybe also did it once or twice before.
I would hope so.
It sounds very round. It just sounds. I don't know what it was about it, but it just.
Well, Steve Carey has a lot of experience.
Absolutely, and the producer that we've worked with, not just for this most recent album, but also on our EP and our first album, is someone who's hugely experienced in mixing music, particularly of this genre, and also a sort of personal friend of mine, and someone I trust to do a good job.
And you can hear it.
Music.
You can absolutely hear it. So, I mean, I popped that thing in, and especially like I think the first two songs of that album were definitely that one that struck me as the best.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe it was also because like I never heard of that band before. It was my first exposure, and the first two songs were very strong.
Okay.
Of course, that's going to make the biggest impression.
Sure. The order of the songs on the album, and we wouldn't usually do this. The order of the songs is entirely based on the order in which they were composed.
Oh.
So the first song you hear is the first song we wrote, and that kind of worked with this album because we were trying to tell a story. There's a narrative that runs through that album, and usually you produce a bunch of material, and then you decide, well, this one kind of sounds like a starting song, and how can we build it up and bring it to a crescendo, and then maybe take things down halfway through, and then build it back up towards the end, and then maybe have something kind of,
So you never
left of field at the very sort of final piece. But in this album, we very much wrote it as it was kind of like a story written chronologically, and even without the lyrical narrative, the songs tell a story in themselves, and you can follow that through from the start to the finish, and because we had to do it in such a small amount of time, the whole thing had to be done in 1 year. It sounds like a long time, but it really isn't to write 10 songs. You can write 10
and bang out the edges and the details.
Songs in a year, but writing 10 songs that we're proud of in a year is a big job. Over the course of that experience, it just seemed right to have the songs to be in the order that they were written, because that year told its own story.
Are you ever going to make an album where you're going to compose a bunch of songs and then make a drawing head? You know, just put all the titles in the head and then put them out. Like, this is number 1, this is number 2.
That's largely what people do, isn't it?
And by the way, that could be actually a funny experience. You might be surprised how the conception maybe works out in the end as well. Like you had now the coincidence that actually in the way you started writing them, they actually fitted that well together. Who knows, a drawing head might be work on another concept.
It's possible. I mean, we have the album. I have the album on my iTunes player, and I put them on shuffle sometimes. And sometimes I get orders that come up, and I think, do you know what? That order works pretty well. It's totally random.
You see the drawing head.
But it was a conceptual decision really to sort of put them in the. It was the only order that made sense.
And I mean, you already got to play you're still a fairly new band. I mean, considering what is it now, 4 years? I think it's
4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years. I think it's still fairly new. I think
it's new for this scene, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, usually, you're right, because most of the time you hear of bands well, we've been together for 30 years.
Exactly.
No, but in this short time, you actually kind of got to play in a lot of interesting places like Germany and so on.
Done okay.
I mean, what was so far the most fun places you played? I mean, what maybe stood a bit more out for whatever reason? I know the craziest reaction, the most stuff thrown at you because they got angry.
I mean, the Greek fans are pretty mental, so it's cool to play in Athens, which is Pax's hometown.
Yeah.
And he goes around.
So it was mostly your family.
Mostly my family.
Or the cousins.
Exactly.
No, they've been very supportive from the beginning, so that was great to then go to their hometown and visit them.
What's the hometown?
Athens.
Athens, yeah.
Italy as well.
Yeah, Italy was great. For us, it was great. But for me, it was great. It wasn't our first international gig, but it was the first gig that someone booked us as the only band that was going to play. So the first gig we played was a festival involving a number of other bands. It was an Emergency Exit Festival in 2011, 12, 13. I'm not sure. But
take a one, give a one.
Yeah, one of those years. And I think 13. But the Italy gig was a gig that was purely based upon someone deciding, I like these guys, I like their music, let's get them. Let's get these guys for one gig, bring them over to a foreign country and make a show out of it. And it felt very special for us. It was the first time that happened. So from my perspective, that was kind of a special moment.
Definitely, that's nice because it's definitely this one step suddenly it's not like a business booking, it was apparently a passion booking.
It's not like, we need to fill up this roster of bands with one more. Who do we have? Maybe we can pick this band and they can fill that space. It was specifically, let's get these guys.
By the way, are you not also in the near future kind of co-headlining in Britain also a festival?
We are.
I think I'm not sure. I think I read something.
Co-headlining a gig.
A gig, yeah.
It's not a festival. It's a one-off gig with Ghosts of Lamora.
Oh.
They've been on the scene for years, haven't they?
But the SOS Festival, which we're thinking of in London, Manuscript are headlining the Gothic Festival, and we're just before them. So.
Yeah. That's pretty sweet right there.
Yeah, they should both be a lot of fun, and sort of London with the SOS Festival is our kind of home turf. So that's our official launch party for the new album. And obviously we'd like to have maybe had it a bit sooner after the release, but because that's such an important event. If we'd done a gig before, then we could have done that one, and it makes sense to kind of.
Well, I have my copy, so I'm good.
Thank you.
Since I'm from around here, I just have to ask, how does Finland compare as an audience to, say, Greece or Italy? Because I know that people here are quite,
Are they better
subdued, and
it's great.
someone giving a thumbs up or standing closer than 5 meters from the stage. That's a big thing already.
So basically, how do they compare to Pano's cousins?
Yeah.
This is what I've heard, that Finnish people are apparently reserved.
Yeah.
They need long time to warm up, definitely.
But I think you get around it by drinking,
Yeah, that's what they
That
do.
is the thing, yes.
as do British people.
Yes.
So I kind of understand that, and I kind of like it. But British people get drunk in a bit of a different way. Some people get angry and hostile, and I don't really see that here. Maybe it does happen.
You've been lucky.
But,
You'll be lucky.
yeah, but it's not quite the same. You get all kinds of arseholes.
Might be also connected because of usually like the goth scene always been like one of the few scenes that never got violent in general as a scene.
No,
That's true, yeah.
I mean, like if you go to a normal bar in here as well, you're gonna have the same assholes like that get in an aggressive way drunk. At least
I don't
that's
know.
my personal experience on gothic events.
I think that holds true because, in the 10, 12 years that I've been around, I've witnessed 2 fights maybe. And that's, Finland, Germany, UK, all told. So
yes. How
Maybe
many of
I've been
those
just
are in the
lucky, but-
UK? How many of those are in the UK?
Both. Both.
Yeah,
none actually.
it wouldn't surprise me.
Actually, he saw 2 and 3 happened in the UK.
The scene involves people, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There are people in these scenes in every country, and you can't account for people, can you?
Yeah.
You don't know what they're going to do. Sometimes something goes. It's like when a dog goes mad and bites someone. You don't know. It's going to happen sometime.
Well, once in a while you're gonna have a fucking nut job around, so that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But actually, how did you guys get started with that project or your ways to like doing music? I mean, I think it's always an interesting story, more or less sometimes.
Well, with this band, it started off as a bit of a solo project, I suppose, on my behalf. At the time, I was playing with Voices of Messiah. That's another story. It's a long one. But
We can catch up on that the next time if you like.
it's very boring. But at some point in that band, I decided to start writing music, and before that, I used to write songs and then pass them down a conveyor belt to Voices of Messiah for them to make a mess of. And I decided at some point to stop doing that and actually just keep them and maybe build up
Make less of
a big kind of list of basically create an album of songs.
Just actually not wasting it.
in secrets that I liked that could be developed in a way that I thought was a good way to develop them. And during that process as well, I decided that I would sing as well, because before that I was always a guitarist. I wasn't a very good singer when I started, but it was a learning experience, and I knew how I wanted it to sound, and I think that's sometimes more important than like how your ability is when you start. If you know how it ought to be,
you kind of have a vision where you want to go, and that can actually help to make that learning curve.
exactly, yeah. And it was a case of training myself to be as good as the thing I wanted to do.
Well, the passion was behind it then. So.
Yeah, really, it really was. Yeah,
I think that might have been just a driving force to just actually to get you to that level, to get it to sound like that.
think so. Yeah. So it was basically 3 years of doing this kind of behind closed doors and writing this album in the hope that the songs would be good enough that I could persuade other people to get involved. Okay, do you know what? I've got this great album. Would you like to,
It's kind of
be
what
involved with
happened
that?
us, isn't it?
Yeah.
We know each other from Sidelights actually, clubbing, and we were just talking one day. He found out that I played the violin, and yeah, you mentioned you've written a few songs and they featured strings, and maybe I want to have a listen. Maybe
Absolutely,
play,
yeah.
right? We didn't even have guitarists and bassists or anything.
Nothing at all. And but what a feature that the songs had at that time was that I wanted to use a film soundtrack kind of theme with the band. I love film soundtracks.
Who doesn't?
Yeah. Well, some people are ambivalent about them, but I love them.
Only better scores.
Yeah. And the idea I had was let's have that, but let's also have a band. So make it a rock band with drums and bass and guitar and vocals, but also like film soundtracks, and sort of like make those things weave together. And so I started experimenting with violin samples on the computer as a way of complementing the music that I had at that time. And when I found out that Christina played violin, it seemed like a really good idea, to just working together,
And it's a very nice touch in there, so I think that was a lucky moment right there.
Really, yeah.
And Panas,
Yes.
you've been so silent for so long.
Yeah, I know.
Your
Leaving space to
background.
the other guys. I'm the bass player, I have to stay at the back. Keep everything stable.
But come on, you still have to keep a rhythm also.
Yeah.
So, tell us how did you got excited for music, or
So
How
I
you
started
came to it?
initially with a band by an audition. I found an advertisement on the internet. I replied, I got in touch with Rob, had an audition with him, went well, and I joined the band. And first album, everything was pretty much ready, so I just recorded the bass. And then onwards, I was getting more involved in writing music with Rob. Started with the EP that I wrote a couple of bass lines in there, and with the new album we work a bit more together in writing the music. So we work with the ideas a bit more together. I wrote all the bass lines, and the songs I think developed a little bit differently. And here we are, Lumous Festival, headlining.
When I started out looking for someone to play bass for this band, there were a number of sort of options within the kind of London goth scene. I knew all of these guys. When you've been around for a little bit of time, you
in
know
every city the scene is somewhat
you know all
Yes.
the faces, you know the people, and I kind of like lined these guys up in my head and kind of went no. this one like
Wait, were they actually in front of you and you
this
just
one-
walked randomly in the
this
club
one's an
past
alcoholic,
people?
this one glasses people, this one's a bit shit, and blah blah blah. And so
That one gets stabby when he drinks.
It's stabby, yes. So I kind of thought, you know what? I'm gonna put a random ad out and just see what comes up,
what comes in. Yeah.
Who knows? There were a couple of guys I thought would be really good for it, but they weren't interested. So it's like, okay, fine. So they were out, and then Panos, who I'd never met in my life, responded to an ad and came round. And the thing that immediately kind of impressed me was that most goth bass players don't play with fingers; they play with a plectrum. Mm-hmm. So it's like basically they're guitarists who play bass, right?
Just missing a string.
Or two even.
Yes.
and I've seen so many bassists like that, and some of them do it well, and some of them do it okay. But Panos plays entirely with fingers, and exceptionally well. And I think I'd asked Panos to maybe try a couple of songs, and we came. They sounded great, better than anything I'd heard before. And
he was so happy when he was telling us about you. You have to play the song.
For the guys that listen to the audio version, check the video version out of it. There you can see Panos being very humbled.
But, for anyone that's interested, check out any video of Panos playing Nothing to Hide. There's a fantastic sort of bass solo.
Okay, if people Google Panos Nothing to Hide, do we get only that stuff, or are there going to be surprises? You have any secret tapes out there?
No, I don't think so.
It's got nothing to hide.
Nothing to hide.
And Matt, you came across through Tim, didn't you?
That's right.
Yeah, Matt is today not sitting in because he didn't fare well.
I think Matt has some important business to attend to this evening, so
He's playing guitar. What can we say?
I'm sure he would have loved to have joined us tonight.
He loved me yesterday evening.
Did he indeed?
That's another story.
But not for this episode.
Yes, well,
You've got something to hide there.
I think the important question is there a video?
Questions back to the grand.
That's a different music video. But I got an introduction for our guitarist Matt through Timoth, Pretentious Mark, who used to be in Manuscript, a band that some people may remember. And actually, we were playing with Manuscript in August at the SOS Festival. I've known Tim for a few years, and Matt was enormously enthusiastic and went to an awful lot of effort to sort of learn all the material. The guitar parts are very, very difficult in this band, and I think he's done an exceptional job of taking those on board.
Yeah, well, at least what I hear, it definitely worked out very well.
Yeah.
So what is now in the near future, planned in that project? Kind of like any ideas, visions, or do you kind of want to take it? I mean, because I think you kind of make now a big transition with the second album. Also, like Panos said, that he got a bit more involved, that it got a bit more of a group work. Any kind of direction, what you guys are kind of maybe aiming for? Besides rock status.
Well, we
and cocaine, of course. I mean, editing. I know I shouldn't say that on there. You told me it's a secret.
Yeah, well, later. Yes. At the moment, we spent this last year very intensively writing this new album, and it kind of took a toll, you know. and
of course.
I think it wasn't too quick. I would say it was too quick, but it wasn't because I love the end result.
Yeah.
And so in that respect, I can't say yes, we rushed it, because we didn't. It sounds great, and I love what we did, but it was such hard work, and I think we need maybe a couple of months just to kind of decompress after that.
Well, saying that, we've been rehearsing intensively to actually learn the new material to play live. I mean, yes, we recorded it.
Yeah.
We now have to really perfect it for live shows and memorize it all, which is the hard part.
And because you're still gonna switch it a bit around for live, of course.
Yeah, I mean, especially the strings, there's lots of different layers in the strings, and you have to pull out some key elements for the violin accompaniment.
It's an adaptation to play live. It's never going to sound exactly like the record, and probably people don't want it to sound.
Why would
exactly
you? You can listen to it at home then.
Exactly, yeah.
I think it sounds heavier live. I really like it.
And I think that it usually tends to slide likely be sped up and a bit heavier. I think that's in most music genres like the case for life.
Yeah.
And nobody ever fucking minds. Somebody goes like, that rocks too much. Fuck that. I'm gonna go home. Screw them. Like I had way too much fun. It sucks. So like.
We actually have a bit of a tour coming up, but I don't know if we can say too much about it because it's not being officially announced yet.
Well, that will be released in about a month and a half, if that helps.
I think we'll know in the next couple of weeks if we could announce
so then, now you can tell.
It's a southern European country, and we're doing two gigs in one of those countries, and it's a country we've not played ever before.
Yeah, in January.
And we're playing it in January.
It's just us. There's nobody over there. She so wants to tell.
We'll be revealing the details very soon. The flights are booked, so it's definitely happening. So.
We're gonna know off air though.
And there'll be other news relating to that as well.
By the way, when guys want to check you guys out, where can they find you?
You can find us on our website is the main.
You're on the internet.
Main place.
You tried the internet.
We are indeed on the internet.
www.redsunrevival.com, facebook.com/redsunrevival,
And Twitter.
Bandcamp, Twitter. There's another one.
Is there?
Yeah.
Well,
Something. No, we're on Spotify.
SoundCloud.
YouTube,
Yeah, SoundCloud.
well, we're gonna have all the links ready on wearenotheretoPleaseYou.blogspot.fi. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
absolutely. And well, unless you have additional question, I think it's a good moment to kind of end that interview because it was fascinating.
I
And
guess that's it now.
yes.
Playing next.
Yes.
Thank you
Yes.
so much for the wonderful interview.
Well, thanks for being here. So
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
you have a good evening.
You too.
You too.
All right.